Welcome back, collectors and coin enthusiasts, to another episode of Coins Numismatic Series, where we dive deep into the treasures of American history struck in copper, silver, and beyond. Today we are uncovering the top 5 super rare wheat pennies that collectors hunt for with passion and excitement. These aren't just small copper cents, they are tiny time machines, carrying the weight of history, the artistry of their design, and the stories of everyday people who once held them in their pockets. You may think a penny is just a penny, but wait until you discover the secrets behind some of the most sought-after 1-cent coins in numismatic history. So let's begin our journey into the world of wheat penny. 1945 wheat penny 1-cent coin without mint mark and fine condition. The 1945 wheat penny is a fascinating coin, not just for its place in numismatic circles, but also for the historical period it represents. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, this coin comes from the final months of World War II and the immediate transition into the post-war period. Think about that for a moment. When this coin was produced, American soldiers were returning home, the economy was beginning to shift from wartime production to peacetime consumer goods, and the everyday penny was part of that change. On the obverse, we see the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth. His portrait, detailed and stoic, faces right, accompanied by the word liberty on the left and the year 1945 on the right. Above his head rests the phrase, "In God We Trust," which had been on U.S. coins since 1909 but carried profound meaning during a time when the country was reeling from global conflict and searching for stability. Flip to the reverse, and you'll find the iconic wheat stalks that give this series its name. 2 stylized ears of durum wheat curve along the left and right edges of the coin, enclosing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. Just above, E pluribus unum, or out of many, one, emphasizes the strength of a nation coming together after years of war. The design itself is simple yet deeply symbolic, bread and wheat as staples of life, tying the coin to the labor of everyday Americans who worked in factories, fields, and shops. The mintage of the 1945 Philadelphia wheat penny was massive. Over 1 billion coins were struck that year at the Philadelphia Mint alone, meaning it isn't the mintage numbers that make this piece desirable, but rather the small variations and the condition in which it has survived. In fine condition, a circulated example may not appear rare at first glance, but careful collectors know that within the 1945 issue are varieties and errors that can transform this humble cent into a valuable treasure. In terms of market value, a typical 1945 wheat penny in fine condition may range from a few cents to $1 in the general collector market. However, those with unique features, such as a clear double die, can fetch much higher prices, sometimes in the hundreds of dollars depending on demand. Condition, as always, plays a critical role. Uncirculated or mint state examples with sharp details and minimal wear can reach several dollars easily, with rare high-grade examples commanding even more. The collector interest in this coin comes from both the historical context and the accessibility. Many collectors start their wheat penny collection with coins from the 1940s because they were produced in large quantities and are still affordable. Yet among these coins lie hidden gems, rare errors, misstrikes, and coins with unusual toning, that give the 1945 wheat penny an enduring allure. Holding one feels like holding a piece of American history from a pivotal moment, when a nation was healing and rebuilding. So while the 1945 wheat penny without mint mark in fine condition might seem like just another common coin, in reality it offers collectors a fascinating window into mid-century America, and for the sharp-eyed numismatist, the potential discovery of an error or variety can make this coin a prize worth cherishing. 1947 wheat penny 1-cent coin without mint mark in fine condition. The 1947 wheat penny is another remarkable piece in the series, representing the immediate post-war years. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark, this coin entered circulation during a period of enormous change in the United States. America had just emerged from World War II victorious, and the nation was transitioning into the economic boom of the late 1940s and 1950s. Pennies like this were in the pockets of returning soldiers, hard-working families, and young children discovering the new prosperity of post-war America. Designed, like all wheat pennies, by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the 1947 penny displays the ever-recognizable portrait of Abraham Lincoln. His dignified image, facing right, symbolizes leadership, endurance, and integrity, qualities that resonated deeply with Americans during the post-war era. Around him are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the date, 1947, to the right. The absence of a mint mark tells us this coin was struck in Philadelphia, the principal mint at the time. On the reverse, the wheat ears once again frame the central inscriptions, reinforcing the idea of nourishment, agriculture, and growth. 1 cent and United States of America take center stage, with E pluribus unum at the top, an enduring reminder of the nation's unity. The wheat penny design was always practical yet symbolic, and in 1947, with families buying homes, raising children, and building the foundations of modern American life, this symbolism carried added weight. The mintage of the 1947 Philadelphia wheat penny was substantial, with over 190 million coins struck. That makes it relatively common in circulated condition, and so many collectors have seen it as a starting point for their numismatic journey. Yet, as with many coins, rarity often lies in the details. Error coins from 1947 are especially intriguing to collectors. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die breaks can all turn a seemingly ordinary penny into a valued rarity. The thrill of discovering one of these anomalies has driven countless collectors to examine every 1947 wheat penny carefully. In terms of market value, a 1947 penny in fine condition may only be worth a few cents to a casual buyer, but higher-grade examples, those with sharp strikes, original luster, and minimal wear, can bring several dollars or more. The true value emerges when error varieties are involved. Some double-die errors or dramatic off-center strikes from 1947 can sell for significant amounts, depending on demand and rarity. Collector interest in the 1947 wheat penny is strong for several reasons. First, it belongs to the broader story of the post-war boom, a coin that captures the optimism and growth of America at a turning point in history. Second, its availability makes it a favorite among new collectors who are building their first wheat penny set. And third, the hidden potential of errors and varieties adds an element of surprise that keeps seasoned collectors intrigued. For many, the 1947 penny is a reminder that even in a coin with millions of surviving examples, the search for rarity is never over. Every collector dreams of finding that special variety or that pristine condition coin that others overlook. It is this balance between accessibility and the possibility of hidden treasures that makes the 1947 wheat penny so enduring in the hearts of numismatists. 1951 wheat penny 1-cent coin without mint mark and fine condition. The 1951 wheat penny continues the legacy of this beloved series and represents a period when America was firmly stepping into the mid-20th century. Struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, the 1951 wheat penny came at a time when the United States was in the midst of the Korean War and experiencing the cultural shifts that would define the 1950s. This little copper coin was part of everyday life, exchanged for candy, newspapers, and bus rides, yet today it stands as a piece of living history. The obverse, with Victor David Brenner's enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, captures the solemn dignity of the nation's 16th president. Lincoln's image had graced the cent since 1909, and by 1951, it was firmly established as one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. On the obverse are also the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the date, 1951, to the right. The absence of a mint mark signals that the coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse design, with its stylized wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America, remains unchanged from earlier years, yet its symbolism was as powerful as ever. Wheat, representing agriculture and sustenance, was deeply tied to the American story. E pluribus unum crowns the design, reinforcing the idea of unity in a country that was navigating both prosperity and new challenges abroad. The mintage of the 1951 Philadelphia wheat penny was significant, with over 284 million struck. On the surface, that makes it relatively common. However, as collectors know, rarity doesn't always come from mintage numbers alone. Instead, it is condition and unique errors that make this coin stand out. Error coins from 1951 include repunched mint marks on Denver and San Francisco issues, but even the Philadelphia coins can present double die errors, die cracks, and planchet flaws that intrigue collectors. In fine condition, a 1951 wheat penny may only command a modest value of a few cents on the open market. But as always, the story changes when you encounter coins in uncirculated or near-mint state. High-grade examples with original red luster can fetch several dollars, and rare error coins can reach into much higher price ranges. For instance, a dramatic double die obverse or an off-center strike from 1951 could be valued at hundreds, depending on collector demand. The appeal of the 1951 wheat penny also lies in its place in mid-century America. This was a decade of new beginnings, suburban expansion, and cultural transformation. Coins like this were part of everyday exchanges, yet each one carries the silent witness of history. Collectors appreciate the 1951 penny not just as a physical object, but as a symbol of its time. Moreover, this coin is a key part of completing a wheat penny collection. Many collectors set out to build complete runs of dates from 1909 to 1958, and every year, including the seemingly common ones like 1951, is essential. The Philadelphia issue is straightforward, yet the thrill comes from finding high-quality examples or uncovering subtle varieties. 1952 wheat penny 1-cent coin with mint mark D and fine condition. The 1952 wheat penny struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the D mint mark, is a coin that reflects the steady growth of post-war America and the cultural shifts of the early 1950s. This copper cent, though small in size, carries with it the echoes of a period when America was both consolidating its power abroad and reshaping everyday life at home. Suburban expansion, the rise of television, and the beginning of the baby boom all formed the backdrop against which the 1952 D penny entered circulation. To hold one today is to grasp a tangible relic of that vibrant, transitional moment in history. The obverse of the 1952 D wheat penny retains Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design that had been honored since 1909. Lincoln faces right, his solemn expression reflecting the gravitas of a president who had preserved the Union. Around his portrait are the familiar inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the year, 1952, to the right. Just below the date lies the small but important, D mint mark, signifying that this coin was struck in Denver, Colorado. This mark is the key distinguishing feature for collectors when comparing the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues of this year. Turning to the reverse, the wheat penny's classic design shines once more. 2 ears of wheat frame the central inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America, symbols of growth and prosperity. Above them rests the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, or out of many, one. The reverse design, though simple, resonates with the agricultural backbone of America during this period, when farming still played a vital role in the nation's economy, even as industry and technology were rapidly expanding. The Denver Mint produced a very large number of 1952 D wheat pennies, over 746 million in total. With such a high mintage, the coin is considered common, especially in circulated grades like fine condition. But as collectors know, the story is rarely as straightforward as sheer numbers. Hidden within this vast production run are varieties and errors that elevate the 1952 D into the realm of sought-after rarities. One of the most notable aspects of the 1952 D wheat penny is the presence of repunched mint marks, RPMs. During the minting process, when the D mint mark was hand-punched onto dies, inconsistencies occurred, leaving behind impressions where the D was stamped more than once. These RPMs, sometimes showing doubling or slight shifts of the mint mark, are highly collectible. Certain dramatic RPM varieties from 1952 D can be valued far above their face value, especially when well preserved. Another category of errors includes die cracks, die breaks, and planchet flaws. These imperfections, while unintended, give coins their individuality and add layers of intrigue for collectors. An off-center strike, for instance, where the design is not properly aligned with the coin's edges, transforms what might be an otherwise common cent into a conversation piece worth many times its typical value. In terms of market value, a standard 1952 D wheat penny in fine condition might only sell for a few cents, perhaps 10 to 20 cents depending on the buyer. However, higher-grade examples, especially those that still display some of their original red luster, can bring in several dollars. Mint state coins, graded MS 65 or higher, may fetch anywhere from $10 to $50 or more, depending on demand. Rare error varieties and RPMs, particularly those cataloged and well documented by specialists, can command significantly higher premiums, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of dollars. Collector interest in the 1952 wheat penny is strong because of its accessibility and the thrill of variety hunting. For new collectors, it is an easy and affordable coin to obtain, providing a gateway into the broader world of wheat pennies. For seasoned numismatists, the 1952 offers opportunities to chase RPMs and unusual errors, making it much more than a simple common-date penny. Historically, the 1952 also appeals because it ties directly into the narrative of America's mid-20th century transformation. This was the era of Dwight D. Eisenhower's presidency, the dawn of the Cold War, and the rapid expansion of suburban neighborhoods. Every cent minted in Denver in 1952 was part of the fabric of everyday American life, exchanged countless times across grocery counters, diners, and gas stations. Today, finding one in fine condition connects us back to that story, a copper token that has traveled decades, carrying history in its worn surfaces. 1957 wheat penny 1-cent coin with mint mark D and fine condition. The 1957 wheat penny struck at the Denver Mint, marked with the small but significant D, is among the last of its kind. Just 1 year later, in 1958, the U.S. Mint would retire the beloved wheat design and replace it with the Lincoln Memorial reverse. As such, the 1957 wheat penny is not only a collectible in its own right, but also a poignant reminder of the closing chapter of nearly 5 decades of wheat penny history. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's bust, designed by Victor David Brenner, continues its enduring run. By 1957, Brenner's design had already been in use for almost half a century, yet it remained fresh and iconic. Lincoln's face, turned right, reflects solemn dignity, while the inscriptions around him, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and "1957," to the right, are familiar hallmarks of the series. Beneath the date lies the D mint mark, identifying this coin as a product of the Denver Mint, which handled the bulk of penny production that year. The reverse, with its dual wheat stalks framing 1 cent and United States of America, remains faithful to Brenner's original 1909 design. Above, E pluribus unum, crowns the composition, reinforcing the coin's symbolism of unity and sustenance. By 1957, Americans had grown accustomed to this design. It had been in circulation for generations, passing through the hands of children buying candy, workers paying for lunch, and families saving pennies in jars. The mintage of the 1957 wheat penny was massive. Over 1 billion coins were struck, specifically around 1.05 billion. This makes the 1957 one of the most common wheat pennies ever produced. In circulated grades such as fine condition, it is very easy to find and carries minimal face value premium. However, its high mintage doesn't diminish its importance. Rather, it makes the 1957 a quintessential coin for collectors, especially those completing a full wheat penny set. Despite its common status, the 1957 holds interest because of its varieties and errors. Repunched mint marks are among the most notable varieties for this coin. As with earlier Denver issues, the process of punching the D into the dies sometimes led to misplacements or doubling, leaving collectors with exciting varieties to discover. Another variety that adds intrigue to the 1957 is the occasional double die error, particularly visible on the obverse in areas such as "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Though not as famous as double dies from earlier decades, these varieties are still treasured by specialists. Error coins from the 1957 include off-center strikes, die cracks, and clipped planchets, each of which can significantly increase value. For instance, a dramatic off-center 1957 wheat penny might sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on the severity and overall condition. As for market value, a 1957 wheat penny in fine condition typically trades for just a few cents. In uncirculated condition, however, values climb. Coins that retain their original red luster and achieve high mint state grades from grading services can sell for $5 to $20 or more. Exceptional examples with strong strikes and eye appeal may reach even higher. RPMs and significant error coins are the true stars of the 1957 issue, with collectors willing to pay strong premiums for standout varieties. Collector interest in the 1957 wheat penny is anchored by its place in history. This was the second-to-last year of the Wheat Penny series, a design that had become a cornerstone of American coinage. For many collectors, the 1957 represents the end of an era, a final opportunity to capture the classic wheat design before it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. That transition gives the 1957 D a nostalgic charm, particularly for collectors who grew up handling these coins in circulation. The coin also holds educational value, especially for beginner collectors. Because it is affordable and widely available, it is often one of the first wheat pennies added to collections. From there, collectors can learn to spot varieties, study the nuances of mint marks, and appreciate the artistry of Brenner's design. For advanced collectors, meanwhile, the hunt for high-grade mint state coins, double dies, or dramatic RPMs keeps the 1957 D relevant and exciting. In broader historical terms, the 1957 D is a snapshot of America in the late 1950s. This was a period defined by post-war prosperity, the rise of the middle class, and the cultural shifts that would soon explode into the 1960s. Holding a 1957 D penny today is to touch a piece of that moment, a copper coin that traveled through an America of diners, drive-in theaters, and the first stirrings of rock and roll. In summary, the 1957 D wheat penny may be common in numbers, but it is far from ordinary in meaning. As one of the last wheat cents ever struck, it bridges the gap between two iconic eras of American coinage.